Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among other things. Now, for starters, we're going to be looking at Storj, which is S-T-O-R-J. It's a really awesome community-backed project. I want you to do your own research on, of course, because it is something you might find interest in. But at this point in time, just know we're only going to look at the technical data. I never look at the fundamentals. I always recommend you look at that yourself because these are just the charts. We're just going to analyze the heck out of them to make sure you can make an informed decision based on the technical data alone. Again, every informed decision requires fundamental and technical data, so please combine those two, of course, what you learned today and what you learn yourself. I'm not a financial advisor, however, so just keep that in mind. I have years of experience in trading, but this is only designed for educational purposes. Okay? Always, again, do your own research. Furthermore, there's a link in the description below for our Telegram community, really awesome group of folks there. Please go ahead and join that as well if you'd like to get engaged in communication and learn as much as you can with cryptocurrency. Furthermore, there's also a link in the description below for Voyager for $25 in Bitcoin and also Patreon, in case you're interested in checking that out. Feel free to do so in your own time, but for now, let's go ahead and get right to the video. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at Storj. Now, this is an exciting one. I haven't covered this in a while, but I've got a really good group of people that asked me to go ahead and review this, so thank you again for recommending I do so. And just so you know, if you're new to the channel, we look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first to kind of get a baseline, what's going on in the overall market, and obviously compare to see how they differ, how similar they are, but just kind of understand generally what's going on because Bitcoin is a catalyst for most movement on altcoins, and it's best to understand that first. So let's take a quick look at it. So Bitcoin first. What we do with Bitcoin, I like to look at the 4-hour chart to identify because the moving averages are the best, the most robust. And if you don't know already and you haven't followed the channel or just not up to terms on Bitcoin, what's going on, 57,000 has been a major support and resistance level over the past week that's really had trouble coming above and staying above or drops below, etc. But it's worked itself into this kind of channel right now. And what's cool is the moving averages are starting to work in its favor. So you see the 50-day moving average, that's this big guy right here. That is essentially covering this right here. In other words, it's coming up, it's intersecting with the 200-day moving averages. So it's going to make a super support, if you will. It's going to be a really awesome thing. But the 50-day moving average has worked as a pretty decent support with a fairly small variance. So recently we can see that it was tested and rejected, and the price is back up again. Okay, so if Bitcoin can stay above 57,000 and just hold and stay there for a while, we'll be in really good shape. All right. Now again, this is a 4-hour chart. 57,000 is a major support and resistance level for Bitcoin. Ethereum, on the other hand, I just always like to draw a reference to the destruction that Bitcoin had accumulated. So the 17th, the 22nd, the 25th, those are the 3 major sell-offs for Bitcoin recently. And that's what you see right here. So this red line is the first major sell-off. Ethereum had a tendency of consolidating for a little while, decided to make its way back up while Bitcoin's moving down. Bitcoin moved down too far. On the 22nd, you see that come down. A little more consolidation. The 25th, Bitcoin tried its last time to sell off, went down like 46,000, and then ever since then, Ethereum's been ramping up, going crazy. Now what's nice is the fact that when Bitcoin does poorly, people jump ship and go over to Ethereum, so that's why you see the price consistently increasing here. But we have this Christmas pattern here, I call it, when it's just red, green, red, green, red, green, back and forth. A lot of indecision here, and this is the last week of indecision for Bitcoin. So it makes sense as to why Ethereum hasn't fully moved yet, and that's because Bitcoin has decided to go 57,000, 53,000, 57,000, 54,000. It's really just not quite figuring it out. Hopefully now, with it being at 58,000 and some change, we might still consider seeing movement in overall every altcoin possible. It would be really great if we saw that. But for now, this is kind of what we're looking at for Ethereum. So what we're going to do next is obviously look at Storj. Now Storj is an awesome currency. I covered it before when we saw this first massive increase, second one as well. But I haven't touched it in a little while because it didn't really get a lot of requests for it. It's been a sell-off pattern, but it does look like it's coming back alive now. But before we even look at the 4-hour chart, we're going to look at the 1-day, then work our way down for the overall price. So first things first, the 1-day chart. Let's take a look here. And what's awesome is we see 2 pretty pretty nice looking green bars here. Bear in mind, this green bar just started roughly an hour ago, so a little early to note, but we had a strong green day here. So it does appear to be moving above the 50-day moving average, which is this yellow line here, and that's fantastic. Another thing to note too is the 50-day moving average did work as a pretty strong support level if you take into consideration the fact that Bitcoin sold off right here and sold off here and here and here. Okay, so I think the 50-day moving average will continue to work as a support level moving forward, which is a good sign for Storj. It means the price should likely continue to increase. Furthermore, RSI is in good shape at 58. MACD is swinging upwards, but nothing really to note there. It does tell us that the momentum is shifting from bullish to bearish just slightly, but we'll see what the 4-hour chart tells us, and that's more of a valid indicator in my opinion. I think the 4-hour chart is really the best way to understand what's truly going on in the big picture. All right, so here's the 4-hour chart for Storj. Something quick to note, we had a long period of consolidation here, almost 2 weeks worth of consolidation with very low volume, and the price decided to ramp back up today. So this is good. We want to see more volume. Storj has a tendency of being a very high volume coin. However, with that consistent channel, we really didn't see much price action, but bulls are here to play. You can see the RSI is creeping up over 70. I personally don't love investing when the RSI is over 70, so please be cautious if you were to invest. We'll look at the 15-minute chart to identify a good entry point for you, but I can tell you that RSI this high, it will have a tendency of coming back down. Now, I have seen some bull runs go for days on end with RSI being up over 70 and no problem, it just keeps going. That can happen sometimes, but that's only kind of a rare occasion, right? So like Ethereum Classic or BNB, we saw that happen, but they always had these short periods of consolidation in between, right? So this right here, if we look at the 15-minute chart, probably we'll see that. There is a recent consolidation period here. So that could be saving the fact that the price is increasing up over 70. It might also be indicating the fact that we're going to be in pretty decent shape because it's likely testing its recent high. Okay, so we'll look at that here next, but nothing much else to extract here except for the fact that the price is above the 200-day moving average now, which is fantastic. That's usually the strongest support and resistance level in the 4-hour chart. And of course the 150-day moving average too, but that kind of comes with the territory with the price jumping up this fast. So good news is the price is above. Bad news is we may not have like really identifiable support lines for a while, but we can probably pull the history and see what's going on. In fact, let's do that right now. Let's see if we can mark any major support and resistance levels while we're on the 4-hour chart. And this is one here, but we shouldn't be down there again. We'll probably just put this guy here. So here's a support right about $1.80. And okay, yeah, that's been tested a few times. So the current resistance line, right at about 258, has been tested and rejected previously 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So with the 5th and possibly 6th time coming now, that means that if the price breaks above, it'll work as a very strong support level moving forward. Because the more often you test a resistance level, the weaker it becomes. Okay, so you can test it 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and once it breaks above, that actually makes it a much stronger support once it flips essentially. So this is a good sign. I'm speculating the price will jump above, or actually probably even shoot above, and then stay above. But we do want to look for confirmation first before you take entry. However, I would be paying close attention to this resistance line about, I would say approximately just say 255, 260-ish, because that will really tell us what's going on. But I'm speculating the price will just jump right above that. So let's look at the 15-minute chart. This is where it gets interesting. And look at the 15-minute chart. A couple things to note before we dive deeper into the current price action is just to understand RSI and how it works, right? So if you're new to RSI, generally speaking, it's considered the relative strength index, right? So it tells us if something is overbought or oversold. So the price being up over 70 is considered extremely overbought, which essentially just leads to the fact that in most cases when the price goes over 70, there's followed by a retracement. usually in most cases. And I say usually because there's other factors, but generally that's the concept, right? So we see this up over 70, had a minor retracement. 70 again, minor retracement, more consolidation. That's because the bulls are in charge. Right here, we're looking at a increase again, back up over 70, followed by a retracement, came back down a little bit. And then this next major push hit its recent high of roughly, just say 260, 258, and we saw a massive retracement. And that's because the RSI stayed up over 70 for way too long. Okay, so to me, when I see an RSI over 70 for that long, that'd be an indication to just sell and trim my profits and take what I can if I'm in a long position. If I'm in a day trade or a short-term swing trade, I'd sell everything, take it out, and then find an entry point back down here when it bounces off support levels, which in this case is the 50-day moving average. So just something to note, and just to clarify too, that was a 20% retracement. That's a pretty significant decrease in price, right? So 20% profit is awesome. So if you could essentially come up and sell closer to the top, just say in this range here, and then get back in closer down here, you would have made 10 to 15. Again, easier said than done, of course. It's like, oh yeah, looking at the chart after the fact, that's what I could have done. Yes, true. But paying attention to the RSI and knowing what that is and understanding what that means could have saved you a lot of money there. Again, if you're in storage for the lifetime, right, and you're just investing forever and you never want to buy another coin again, and you've got money in this and you're just leaving it alone, don't worry about that little stuff. You don't need to jump in, jump out. But if you are interested in taking some profits, pay attention to the RSI. When it gets over 70, it could be followed by a retracement as long as the other indicators are present. Okay. Furthermore, MACD swung in an upward fashion here, so it is indicating bullish momentum. RSI is getting close to 70, so what I'd like to see as the price comes closer to this resistance line, we'll go ahead and mark that here. Fortunately, it doesn't translate sometimes from the 4-hour to the 15. But what we want to see is the price come back up here, right? But not shoot up really, really fast, because if we can keep the RSI under 70 and just keep making smaller incremental increases, then the price will stay consistent because the average true range will become, it'll move with the actual weighted average price. And what I mean by that is the VWAP, which is this blue line here. This is the volume weighted average price. So if you're not familiar with it, it basically just tells you what the average volume is in the last 24 hours based on, or as a price rather. So basically it takes the average volume, last 24 hours, gives you an average price, and this is essentially what the price should be based on the volume. It's a really good indicator because volume speaks massively when you're trying to understand what technical charts tell you. If you don't look at the volume, you're not in good shape. That's why the volume weighted average price does all the work for you, and it tells you what the average price should be. So that being said, with the price being this high above VWAP, there's a tendency of the price coming back down. So what it might do is come down, test this VWAP line and or the 50-day moving average, and likely continue as a support level here and continue to work its way up. That's what I'd like to see. But by all means, if it can jump through and stay above, that's fine too. But the only problem with that is when the RSI gets overextended, it could retrace back down. Okay. So just again, be mindful of that depending on how you take an entry. That is just something to be aware of. So that's just something I'd like to recommend. Now, what I would do here if I were to take entry, I would wait for one of two things. I would wait for the price to come up above the resistance level of roughly 258. I think it's 258. Yeah, we'll say 258. I'd wait for the price to come above 258. I would then wait for confirmation, which for me is waiting 2 solid green bars, right? 2 15-minute green bars. So if I see 2 of these guys here, these 2 little things right above that line, that would tell me that we're holding support and staying above, and that I might consider taking a position. And I say might because if the RSI is over 70 down here, I'd be very careful and probably not. Or if I did take a position, it'd be a smaller position. Okay, so ideally we want the price to come above the resistance line, stay above, confirm staying above, and have the RSI still below. Right? Simple, right? Nothing to it. So that's kind of the concept, right? So just try to understand that, and just note that you want to wait for confirmation. That would be scenario A for me, is to wait for it to come above, get my confirmation, take my entry. I would only take about a 15 to 20% entry though. So I don't like when the price just jumps right above a support or resistance line, I like to wait for it to honestly come back down and to test a support level. Either way, that's what I do in scenario A. Scenario B, if the price decreases and doesn't continue upwards, which it could happen, I would wait for it to test the volume weighted average price here, the VWAP line, and to have the same exact function. I'd wait for two 15-minute green bars, wait for the price to stay above, and then if it holds above and confirms, then I would add to my position there as well. Okay. But before all this, I would set a goal and have a price target. You need to make sure to do this if you don't already, because just jumping in willy-nilly and jumping out whenever you decide you want to is not the right way to trade. You have to have structure and you have to be focused and you got to know what you're getting into. So me, when I have a short-term swing trade, I try to shoot for anywhere between 5 to 6%, or just a range of 3 to 6. So let's just say, for example, the VWAP comes up and the price is right at this line here. Okay. 5, 6%, let's just say 6% is right above the price action, or that resistance level of 258. So in a perfect world, the price comes above here, and I sell my position. But again, I wouldn't go all in. I wouldn't take a full position. I would take smaller positions and add to my position as I get closer to my goal. Okay. Again, I know it's easier said than done, but it takes a lot of temperament or just patience to not go all in. But if you're going to survive to trade another day, you cannot invest everything you have in this one trade, okay? Because you're going to lose a lot more than you gain. And until you get the proper fundamentals of how often, you can be very challenging to be profitable. Trust me, I've done this over the years. I've learned by my mistakes, and that's why I have this channel, is to ensure that I hopefully teach you a little something so you don't have to learn the way that I did. It's tough having massive losses. I'm sure some of you have experienced that so far. Maybe you're even holding something right now that you haven't sold yet because you're afraid to take the loss. Sometimes you just got to take a loss and move on. Okay, that's how trading is, but if you invest less, you lose less. And truth be told, I gain less too. There's no doubt about that, but my daily goal is to grow my wallet by 1% every day. It sounds easy. It's not exactly an exact science, but as soon as I hit my 1 to 2% goal for the day, I'm in good shape. Preferably 1%, but if it goes up to 2, there's case in point where I can do that as well. Either way, I've been known to ramble. Sorry about that, but I'm just trying to give you some insight and hopefully help you along the way here. Because crypto trading is a unique beast. It is a strange thing. It's much different than futures trading, ETFs, and options. It's very volatile and it can kick your ass. So having gotten my ass kicked, handed to me on a silver platter, I just want to help you out. So thank you again for joining me here. I appreciate listening to me ramble. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. Join our Telegram community to learn a lot more, of course, there, because we got a good group of people there growing every day. And I've also got a few other options as well. If you'd like, we'll look at that later through Patreon. I'm currently forming that as well. Either way, thanks again for your time. We'll see you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.